I suppose that each of us has things that are present to a greater extent and other aspects of our personalities that are greater to a lesser extent. But I think we all expect that we are, in essence, complete, whole. Some of us have more, some have less of certain characteristics. But there's not something missing. Certainly in a psychopath, there is something missing, a conscience. And yet, because they lack a conscience, they can be more charming than the rest of us because they don't feel the anxiety associated with lying or cheating or stealing or deceiving others. The worry lines on their face just aren't there. And most of us don't encounter sociopaths and psychopaths quite often. But are there other people that are missing something? You see, we don't expect things to be missing. Present in various amounts, but missing, no. And so we argue. We try to persuade, discuss, and so forth, to get them to see the way things are, the way people are. And in these individuals, intellectually, they are intact. But something is not there. Now, if you're blind, you know you can't see. And if you're deaf, you know you can't hear. But there are conditions where something is missing and you don't know it's missing. Not only do you not know it, you see in others something that is missing. Because what's missing in you makes you see in others something missing in them. And so, your worldview, who you are, your humanity, is in some significantly way different than that of, by and large, the rest of us. And yet, this is the last thing that most people expect to see in another person, because it's uncommon. Now, you may say, well, it's not really that. It's a lack of maturity. It's an oddness. And certainly that may be the case. But what if it's something fundamental? I had a psychiatrist say to me when I was hypomanic. I was consistently hypomanic. Hypomanic is a condition in which your brain is operating faster than the rest of the people on the planet. And he said, it's not your problem, it's everybody else's problem. Everybody else that encounters you has a problem because you're operating at a different frequency than they are. And he was right. Because they couldn't deal with that. It was disturbing and difficult. Of course, I had a hard time seeing that. Because it was great. I could think faster, I was more clever. I could read more quickly, I could do problems more quickly. It had a disadvantage, I would go off on tangents, but that led me to be more creative. But the problem really is that, not that I had this condition, but the problem really was that other people didn't. If everybody was like me, and I encountered people like that in the mental ward, they were like me, we had a great time together. The problem is that I was different. Nothing wrong with being different, except that all these other people were different from me, which meant that I was kind of odd and they didn't get me. And it's amazing how that works. It's hard to really explain it. But when you're operating that fast, you're thinking differently. Your mind is different in certain ways. And I met someone at that time who was operating at the same frequency I was, and we had a grand time. But people have these differences. And in that case, it wasn't an absence of something. It was too much of something. Too much of this frenetic kind of pace and all. But there's something really important about being human. And it has nothing whatsoever to do with logic. It has to do with how you feel. Not logical. It's just the way you are, the way you're built, the way things are inside your mind. And what happens is that way that you are inside your mind determines what is, to a large extent, as far as the way society operates. Now imagine a human being who's missing a piece of that, but doesn't know it, but wants to connect with others. Wants to connect because we all want to connect. But when they see another person, they don't see that piece that's lacking in them. They see something lacking in the other because they want those others to be like them, because they feel that that's right. And it is right if everybody was like them. But they're not. You know, a psychiatrist said to me something amazing. He said, you know, sometimes it's good to feel sad. I did not feel sad ever when I was hypomanic. I was hypomanic for just years without a break. I felt good, great, for years without a break. Didn't have a down moment ever. And I thought, what's wrong with that? That's terrific. My mom was the same way. It's a hereditary condition, particular form of bipolar disorder. And he said to me, he said, you know, people go to see sad movies. And I thought about that. I thought, my God, I don't understand that. And he just let that sit with me. And I realized something. I created my own little analogy here, metaphor, that I was sort of listening to a symphony where I couldn't hear any of the lower notes, the bass tunes. All I could hear was the nice high chirps. And it occurred to me when he said that some people enjoy seeing a sad movie, and I couldn't think of why, because I never felt sad. I never felt down. That was great, except the thing is that a friend of mine told me once, when I was depressed, that he liked me better. Because I know why now, because I could empathize with human beings, because I was like other human beings. When I constantly felt good, was always up and doing things, I was disconnected from humanity, but I didn't see it. And when this guy told me that, it got me to think, and I said, my God, how can that be that people want to see a sad movie? I can't relate to that at all, because I don't feel that at all, because I was operating at a different level. I think it's terribly interesting. Now, I take lithium now, and that basically puts me pretty much at a normal level. I still have the opportunity to jump up a little bit if I want to. Not all people can do that are bipolar. I can, and I'm glad to do that. There are certain advantages to doing that, and I'm glad to have that. That's terrific. But what I'm really getting at is, imagine an individual, and you're going to have to pay close attention to this because I'm not saying it directly on purpose, that's missing a piece. And because they are the way they are, they see humanity as missing something. When I was constantly up and feeling happy all the time, I couldn't relate to sadness. It's a rare individual that's missing a piece. I'm not talking about it being diminished, diluted, but just maybe it's just not there. And so the way they see the world is so different than us. And when I was hypomanic, it did get through to me. why is it that people can't, why people can see a sad movie? Why do they enjoy that? People like sad movies. Because I had been sad before. I could get there. I could remember that. But think of this. What if that sadness, that something else that I'm referring to, what if that was never there? You could never understand.